Jung was right, and we need him now more than ever. There are thinkers who explain the world, and there are those who challenge it. Carl Jung did both, but more importantly, he offered a vision for how to live in it without losing yourself. Now, nearly 60 years after his death, Jung's voice still echoes, maybe more clearly than ever, because the world he warned us about has arrived. A world obsessed with surface and allergic to depth. A world of images but no symbols. A world of information but no meaning. A world where the soul is not denied but forgotten. Jung never claimed to have all the answers. In fact, he distrusted easy answers. But he offered something more valuable, a way of seeing, a map for the inward journey that so few are willing to take. He showed us that the unconscious is not our enemy, that suffering is not always a flaw to be fixed, but a signal that something in us wants to grow, that our greatest conflicts are not out there, but within us, and that true healing doesn't come from control, but from integration. He taught that the mind is not a machine, it's an ecosystem, that you're not just one self, but many selves, constantly shifting, dreaming, projecting, evolving. He told us to beware of the persona, the mask we wear for the world, and to pay attention to the shadow we try to hide. He reminded us that the parts of ourselves we exile don't disappear, they return, in our dreams, in our symptoms, in the people we hate, in the things we fear. He warned that a society which ignores the symbolic will collapse into literalism, that when myth dies, meaning dies with it, and when meaning dies, so does the soul. Jung's legacy is not in a formula or a step-by-step guide. It's in the courage to face your inner world without flinching. He understood that in the age of progress, most of us would forget to look backward, to look inward. He said people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. He wasn't trying to be pessimistic. He was trying to wake us up. He saw what happens when the psyche is ignored. We project our inner conflicts onto politics, religion, relationships. We cling to ideologies that pretend to offer certainty. We escape into addiction, distraction, cynicism. We search for enemies instead of symbols. We worship the mind and forget the mystery. And yet, the unconscious remains patient. It waits. In the quiet moment between thoughts. In the dream we can't forget. In the mood we can't explain. In the strange coincidence that makes us pause. That's what Jung taught us to notice. Not the obvious, but the meaningful. Not the cause, but the pattern. Not the answer, but the question behind the question. He believed that each of us carries within us a self far greater than the ego. Not a perfect, idealized being, but a whole one. And that life's deepest purpose is not happiness or success, but the slow and painful work of becoming that self. It's called individuation, and it's the opposite of conformity. In a time when we're told to curate ourselves, brand ourselves, and sell ourselves, Jung tells us to remember ourselves, to retrieve the parts we've buried, to face the truth we've denied, to hold the tension between opposites without rushing to resolve them. He says, You don't become whole by being perfect. You become whole by being honest. He also reminds us of something modern psychology often forgets, that we are not just brains, we are not just bodies, we are not just identities. We are souls, with myths, symbols, fears, dreams, desires, and shadows. And the world will not give us space to explore that. We must make that space ourselves. In therapy, in silence, in art, in ritual, in relationships that go deeper than performance, in moments where we let the unconscious speak. This isn't about escaping reality, it's about deepening it. Because when you turn inward, the world doesn't disappear. It becomes more vivid, more layered, more sacred. You begin to see yourself in others. You begin to notice patterns. You begin to live symbolically, not as a child, but as someone who understands that logic has its limits and mystery has its place. Jung didn't want to build a new religion, but he believed passionately that without a connection to something transcendent, the human psyche deteriorates. He once said, "The decisive question for man is he related to something infinite or not?" That question still matters, maybe now more than ever. We live in a time where mental health crises are at an all-time high, where loneliness, addiction, anxiety, and despair are normalized, where we have every tool to succeed and no guidance on what it means to be whole. Jung wouldn't offer a checklist. He'd offer a mirror and ask, who are you beneath the mask? What are you projecting onto the world? What story are you living, and is it really yours? He'd ask, are you listening to your dreams? Are you honoring the parts of yourself that scare you? Are you becoming the person you were meant to be, or the person others told you to be? He would not rush your process. He would sit with you in silence. And if you listened closely, he might say, your vision will become clear only when you look into your heart. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens. And so now the question turns to you. Will you look? Will you listen? Will you make space in a busy world for what truly matters? Because Jung was right. The modern world still doesn't understand the soul. But if even one person dares to, that might be enough to start remembering. So, I leave you with this. Are you brave enough to go inward and see what has been waiting for you all along? Curious minds never stop. Subscribe to keep exploring.